Amitofo. This is Shifu Kanishka, she and you, also known as in my Kung Fu world, my Kung Fu brothers. Meri Kahani, Meri Zubani, the second chapter for my story. In the first chapter, I told you that how I got into training in Kung Fu Tua. Today, I'm going to start my story that I trained my Kung Fu Tua for 3 years almost, and I also studied Kalaripai too. Not many people know that after I passed out from school, I started playing football professionally. I was also a football player since childhood, and I got one setback during that. Is that when I was playing for Delhi Soccer Association, in one of the match, I tore my ligament of my ankle, and it was so badly hurt that the doctors told me that I would not be able to do any kind of sports, whether it was football or my love, which was martial arts. It really gave me a setback, and I consulted 2 to 3 very senior doctors, and they all said it needs to be operated. And after the operation, I might not have the same strength. It really put me down. But then I met one doctor, Dr. Sukhija, and he said he will cure me, but it's going to take time. It took me almost 2 years to get my strength back in my ankle because it was so badly hurt. I was on crutches. After my plaster got over, I could not walk, could not take weight on my leg. It took a lot of exercise, a lot of rehab training for me to get back. And so after I got back, I continued my training. I was not happy, and my mother and my father wanted me to do post graduation. So I did my post graduation. I did my MBA in advertising, communication, marketing as my specialization, and in the final years I went to Europe in the Maastricht School of Management. I, I topped. I came back to India, and I didn't want to work because that's not what I wanted to do. And but I joined a corporate company, Reliance Industries, plastics and petrochemicals. I became the dealership in charge, and this is where this is the part of the story where my life changed. Uh, so what I would do is generally, because I was trained in Kung Fu Tua, I was already a black belt. So I used to work till around 3:34 in the office, and then I would leave my office. Sometimes tell my boss I'm going on a customer visit, and straight away head to the gym 3 days a week. And 3 days I would come back home, and near my house there was a club. In that park I used to teach Kung Fu Tua to the students. During this time period, my father started falling sick. We got a checkup done, and by the time we realized it was too late, he was in the hospital. He had multiple brain tumors, quadrupline, and I remember fine day I was in the hospital with my father, and he asked me the question, "Hey, how do you feel? How's your job going on?" He always wanted to be a very strong person in front of me, and I said, I just, that's not me. This is not what I want to do. So he said, "Who's stopping you to do what you want to do?" I said, "No one." He said, "My son, remember one thing. You cannot do everything in your life. Always follow your dream, always follow your passion. Do something which you love doing, because you can't love everything in your life. And everything will fall in its place. If you think of name, fame, money, everything will come to you. But make sure your passion is your profession. Otherwise, ज़िंदगी में 25-30 साल ख़त्म होने जाने के बाद you will look back and then you'll think, I didn't do what I wanted to do in my life. And after that, my father passed away. I'm sorry, I've just become emotional about my father always. He was a very big source of strength in my life. And after, in not many of my foreigner friends know that we have this 13 days ritual in our country. We call it Tervi. So after that was done, I went back to my office, and a few days later I resigned. I came back to my home and I told my mother that I actually gave that resignation letter to my mother, because at the same time I had also before that applied for one of the shipping companies and I got the job offer. So she thought that I had accepted the job offer, and she was like, "You got a new job," because everything was different now. My father was no more. When she opened, it was my resignation letter, and she's like, she was in a utter state of shock that, "Why have you resigned?" And I said, "I'm going to Shaolin Temple." And it had just been 20 days, 25 days. My father had passed away, and that was the biggest tribute I wanted to give to my father. And I didn't have money, like a lot of people crib about that. I only had a little amount in my bank, and I had a car. So sold that car. Uh, my mother sold my father's car, gave me the money, and that's where my journey started. I had no clue what will happen, how will I do, but once I boarded the flight, I was excited, because every child has a dream, every child wants to become something in their life. Somebody wants to be a millionaire, somebody wants to become the best actor. In India, somebody wants to be like Amitabh Bachchan. I wanted to be a Shaolin monk, a warrior. I wanted to go there. That was my dream. That was the only dream I had. I lived, I slept, I dreamt, I ate. That was the only thing I wanted to do. And I remember in the flight throughout, everybody, at that time, not many people know that there were not many flights to India and China. And China Eastern had just opened their flights from India to Shanghai. I boarded that flight, and there were no Indians. I remember technically no Indian in that flight. Only few Chinese were there, and they would ask me something in Chinese, and the only thing I would reply, Shaolin Temple," and they didn't understand, because Chinese is a tonal language. They don't understand Shaolin Temple. It's Shaolin Si, because in Chinese in Pinyin we have ma, 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 and all four ma has different meaning. So once I went through the immigration, and I had exchanged few emails through one of my father's friend. As I said, that he was in Chinese embassy before, and so from the Shaolin Temple Secular Disciples Union, one car came to pick me up. I was so excited in the car. There were no roads. It was literally through the jungles, and Denfeng was a village at that point of time, almost like this. I reached pretty late. It was already 7:38. I reached the Shaolin Temple. I didn't see the gate of the temple. I crossed that, and I straight away reached my master's school, which was called Shaolin Temple Secular Disciples Union. Next day, I got up. I was really excited. I saw these 300 Chinese kids in orange robe, and I didn't know what was happening. And there were only 4 foreigners at that time there. I was super excited. Then a translator came and he gave me the dress and everything. I didn't even know how to wear that dress. Anyways, I tied it up, and uh, I saw I saw the most amazing person. He's still today like my father, and he came walking, Master Shi Jun, and I was in awe. That the whole movie, like 36 Chamber of Shaolin, came in front of my eyes. I was like awestruck. I just fell on my knees. हमारे हिंदी में बोलते दंडवत प्रणाम करना. I just went flat into the earth like this, on his feet like this, and And I was just like, teach me kung fu, I want to learn kung fu. And so the translator told him everything, and then he sat down and then he said, okay, your training is going to start at 11 o'clock. That is where I got the second lesson of my life. I thought that Master Shi Hengjun was going to come and train me. So 11 o'clock I reached there. I'm just warming it up, and because the other kung fu student practicing, I'm trying to show them some of my kung fu moves, telling them that, hey, I have also trained, I'm not a novice. And I see a 10 or 11-year-old, I think it was 11-year-old boy comes with some senior, and the translator told him something in Chinese, and he said, he will teach you. I just looked at him. I was like, where is Master Shi Hengjun? He said, he will teach you. I was so upset and irritated. I was like, I had that ego kick in me. I was like, oh, I'm already trained in martial arts. I'm a black belt in karate. I'm a black belt, second degree in Kung Fu Tua. I'd done Kalari Payat, and, why would I train with an 11-year-old boy? But, okay, I just trained. So he put me into Roman Kung Fu, which is foundation stances, Mabu, Kumbu, Pubu. Anyways, the class got over. I went back to the translator. I said, no, I came here to train with the master. So then the master came, and he just looked at me and he said, do you know Kung Fu? I said, yeah, I know Kung Fu too. He said, do you know Shaolin Kung Fu? I said, no, I don't know anything about Shaolin Kung Fu. He said, this boy has been training since the age of 4. He's 11 now. So he's way more senior to you in the art of Kung Fu. He said the first lesson in Kung Fu is you can learn anything from anyone in this world. Age is not a barrier. And that was the second lesson of my life. That do not keep an ego. You can learn from anyone. You can learn from your son. You can learn from your sister. You can learn from your brother. You can learn from the driver. You can learn from anyone in this world as long as you want to learn. After that, for first 1 month, I was taught by that small boy. And then I got shifted to one group of students, and the training at that time and what I see now was completely different. Every day in the morning we had to run to Damodong, which is where the Bodhidharma cave is, 1,000-meter mountain. We had to run up and crawl back on our hands and feet like a dog all the way down, and as part of a physical training. I tell you, after 15 days, every pore, ounce, inch of my muscle was in excruciating pain. In India, in our martial arts culture, we train almost like 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. That's like a culture of training martial arts in the park. 2 hours per session. Here I was training 6 to 7 hours every day. Every single part of my body was in excruciating pain. I just couldn't take it. I was getting homesick. I didn't know the language. The food was different. It's the people, the young children I see who are going to Shaolin now, they can't even imagine all my contemporaries who have trained in 1995 till 2003 and 4. It's completely different. I have a lot of brothers. If they listen to me, they know what I'm talking about. But the young lads who go and they pay dollars to the kung fu schools, and they get this good facility of air-conditioned room with bunk beds and stuff, and they train 3-4 hours, they cannot imagine the difficulty in training we people went through as foreigners at that point of time. Nonetheless, uh, so the morning schedule was like this: run, come back, and then we were put into the basic training. We used to have breakfast. After that, we used to train 2 hours again. Then we used to sleep, get up, we train again in the evening. And after dinner, especially our master Shi Hengjun, he would take us to one small room. It was like, for me, it was like one of the chambers of 36 chambers of Shaolin. That room, when I entered, there was one long table. There were multiple candles, and throughout that entire room, there were 1,000 piles of papers stuck in that wall. And we had that core group of foreigners training there. punch that thing, that there was a whole circuit. You have to punch that 200 times, blow the candle. Every time the candle blows off, you put it on again 200 times, give 50 push-ups for 1 hour after dinner. So what I was telling you, after 15 days of the training, I told my translator I need to make a phone call to India. He took me to Denfeng, which was at that time, going to Denfeng from the Shaolin to the Denfeng city used to cost 1 yuan. I still remember they were like these ladies who would stand outside the bus and they'd shout, Koila, 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 Shaolin Sir, Yi Kwai, Dam Fang. That in 1 yuan will take you to Denfeng. And today, it's like everybody knows how expensive it is now. So, anyways, I went there, made a phone call. My mother picked it up. I was literally sobbing, and she's such a hard lady. She's very soft lady in the sense at that point she had to be tough for me. You know, she told me, don't even think of saying what you want to tell me. You will stay there in the Shaolin, you will finish your training, and then only you will come back. I was surprised, I was like, what happened? And she said, I love you, and she kept the phone down. I had no clue what just happened because she was one lady, she had pampered me. If I say something, she would do it for me. And when she said no to me, I was like, what happened? I went back and I was in tears, homesick, and I stopped exactly in front of the Shaolin temple gate and I looked at it and I told myself, all my life I dreamt, I cried, I imagined that I will be standing in Shaolin temple one day, training, and now I'm here in the Shaolin. I wanted to go back. From that day, everything in me changed. It flipped 360 degrees and I trained very hard. And in I'm going to stop my story today here because from here is a time when my master took me inside the Shaolin temple for the first time. I'll meet you 3 days after and I'm going to tell you about my story from there and my journey into the Shaolin Kung Fu. I met the legendary Grand Master, the venerable abbot of Shaolin Temple, Sushi, and how everything happened there. I'm going to narrate the story to you. And till then, everybody keep safe and be safe. It's a tough time for everybody in the coronavirus. We pray for everybody and thank you so much. Amitofo.